Hi everyone, my name is Karen and I'm a primary school teacher and I'm currently teaching first class. Also parent and currently homeschooling as well, similar to yourselves. So I've had a lot of friends asking me, talking about that they're very concerned about their child's spelling and what can they do. And I think they've all nearly developed this learned helplessness of not knowing how to spell anything. So I was thinking I would put together a short video for parents looking at maybe 4 or 5 simple strategies that you can use at home to avoid getting children being reliant on you in terms of helping them spell if they are doing a little bit of writing throughout the week. So the first strategy I want to talk about is, I'm going to keep this as non-technical as I possibly can. The first strategy is getting them to clap the word. So that might sound very basic, but actually this is for children right from junior infants right up to 6th class, because depending on the difficulty of the word or the simplicity of the word, for example, a junior senior infant might be tempting to spell the word going. So straight away it works well for multisyllabic words or words that have more than one syllable. So for example, the word going, you might prompt them, they might say, Mom, I don't know how to spell going. You might prompt them and say, okay, clap it out, clap the parts. So you would physically get them to go going. They might need a little practice on that. The younger ones, they might practice maybe clapping their name, their friends' names or anything like that. So getting them to clap the parts is a very good auditory exercise and improves their listening skills as well. So that can work right up to a 5th or 6th class child spelling the word photosynthesis. Or we often do it ourselves, like for example, if we were spelling the word isolation, we might clap the word isolation, or we're breaking it and kind of breaking it down in our heads as we write. So that's a skill that even as fluent spellers, we use all the time as we write. Okay. The next strategy I wanted to tell you about is what we call slow articulation of a word. So basically stretching out the word so that helping children to hear all the sounds in the word. So for example, your child might be stuck on the word shop. Okay, so getting what we would say in school is, or what we would encourage the children in school to do, is to pretend that they have a piece of blue tack or chewing gum, and let's pretend that's the word, and let's stretch it as far as it can go. So let's try it. Shop, or it might be the word went. In some words, depending on what the word is, but for example, the word went, a lot of the time you might see early spellers spelling it with, W-E-T, leaving out the N. A lot of children also with words with blends at the beginning. So for example, the word slope, they might leave out the L. So again, just getting them to go, oh, well done, you've a lot of the letters that you need for that word. Let's go back and just stretch it again and see, do you hear anything else? So that is a super exercise or a fantastic prompt to give your child. Okay, go back to step 1, clap it out. If it's a 1-syllable word, then just pulling the word apart while keeping it together. So I suppose they're going to be very used to doing k, at, and that's great if they know all the sounds that make up that word. But in maybe an unknown word or an unknown written word, a very good one is just pull the word apart, and that just slows down, and they might actually hear sounds that they may not have written down for that word already. Okay, so strategy 3 then, or the third prompt that you could give your child, is a lot of us are, I'm certainly a visual learner, and a lot of the children can be visual learners as well. So what I would suggest is, so if you've clapped the word, if you've stretched it out as far as you can, and there's still missing parts of the word or a letter or two, you can use what we call sound boxes. And again, without getting over technical, it just gives the child a little visual prompt to have a go at that word. So the rule of thumb is that every sound gets a box. Okay, for example, so it's a good idea if you have just literally a blank piece of paper every time they're writing, or if they have just an extra copy that they can just we call it their have a go copy in school, or their have a go page, that every time they write they have this go-to little space that they can figure out words, no more than we would do ourselves as well. I suppose we're a lot of the time on the computers now, but if we were writing, you might say, how do you spell that again? Have a go. Oh yeah, that's it. So that's what's happening as well all the time for the children. So for using sound boxes, I'm going to start very simple. If it was the word cat and they might have stretched out cat, okay, and if they still can't maybe hear the middle sound and so on, what you would do is you would just draw a little box like that. I know that there's 3 sounds in cat, okay, so I would say cat and I might say cat, and then just literally, what sounds do you hear? They might hear the t first, or they might hear the k. I might struggle to get the a. Again, very early spellers here now. But this can certainly be used, for example, if you were writing the word chance, okay? So getting your child, you know, maybe first, second, third child, stretching out the word chance, okay? Having a go, so you would do ch, a, s. So it's whatever sounds you hear, it doesn't even matter. The fact that you just give them a little space to hear the sounds, you're not really giving them a box for every letter yet. So chance, okay, so what did you hear in the beginning? Ch, they heard ch, and then next ch, and the s, obviously that's going to be a bit more complicated. You can maybe just fill that in for them, but it's getting them to have a go at that, okay? So again, you might only use this box for part of a tricky word, like a really longer word. Like if I go back to the word, if we said unfriendly or isolation, again, you know that you might just use that for part of the word. But definitely for the younger ones, you know, again, looking at the word went, where we might see wet a lot. So we hear 4 different sounds in went. So getting them to stretch it, went, let's push it in, went, and then getting them, it just gives them a little visual, okay? And if there is, for example, if they had another one, if it was just, let's just say shop, shops, okay? They might be very good here with the sh, and often they might leave this one out, okay? So again, having the little box there shows them, oh, something's missing. Let me go back, stretch again, and have another go, okay? Or you might decide, let's just spell shop first, and then add your box on at the end, okay? Without getting over technical, and don't worry about if you don't have the right number of boxes. For the older kids, you can give what we call spelling boxes, where you give them a box for every letter. But definitely for the younger ones, where they're very focused on phonics, you might just use a sound box. So as you can see here, I didn't give a separate box for C and H because that's a sound all by itself. Same for sh there. Is that okay? So the last strategy I want to talk to you about is what we call word analogy. So don't get bogged down on the name. Basically what you're doing is you're helping the children use a known word, so a word that they know, to get to a new word. Okay, so for example, your child might say, Mom, I don't know how to spell them. Okay, so you might decide, okay, you might say, have a go yourself. You'll see what they have. Then you might say, well, do you know what? Them is very like this word, okay? So it's like the word, you know, a lot of them would know that very early on, the, okay? So let's stretch out them and see, can we hear the last bit at the end? Them, okay? So they have the, and they're gonna obviously hear the at the end. There you go. So you're showing them. So the next time they might go to write it, they might remember, oh, it's very like that. So if you're talking about similarities within words, that might help them get to another word. So another one you might use is if they say, Mom, I don't know how to spell some. You know, I am going to get some sweets in the shop. How to spell some? You might see a lot. So get them to have a go first. And you might say, well done, you have 2 of the letters that you need. But actually some looks very like this word, come. So what do you think, how would you change come into some? What do you need to do? And again, they will have done a good bit of this in school. So you would say, okay, so it's like come, but I need just, and again, stretching along the word some. Okay, so then you're hoping. You might say, what's the same in these words? What's different? Again, so helping them make that little connection in their head so that when they write it again, that they might get it. Another one, so you might say, I don't know how to spell mother. So you might decide, okay, it's very like the word other. Let's maybe we'll clap it, maybe we'll stretch it. And look, this is other. How are you going to turn that into mother? And then getting them to stretch it again. Mother, okay? So they might know. And a good one for that actually is all. So if they're spelling call, a lot of them know how to spell all, or they all know how to spell ball. So you might say, I want to spell the word calling. Don't know how to spell calling. So you might see something like COLL. Okay, so you might say, okay, it's very like the word ball. Ball is like the word call. So getting them to clap it, calling. Let's just have a go with the first part. So ball can turn into call. Okay, so you've done it up there. And then adding on the ing. Okay. For another example might be for example, if they needed the word cooking, right? You'll give them so again, you're working on their auditory processing as well. So getting them to think of words that sound or rhyme with that particular word. So I want them to write cooking. I'm going to say, look, it's very like this word. Look. Let's clap cooking. Cooking. Okay, how am I going to change look into cook? Okay, so then they're going to know, or you might have to show them. You just change that first letter. Now, how will I change cook into cooking? And then a lot of them will know those chunks, the S, the ing, the ed. Same for maybe the word lovely. So let's clap the word lovely. Lovely. Do you know how to spell love? So then you might just have to say, no, it actually doesn't look like it sounds at all. It actually looks like this. But well done, you had the L and you had the V. Now, let's clap the second part, lovely. How do you think you might write Lee? Okay, so you might say, it looks very like this word, happily. What part is saying Lee at the end there? Okay, so you might say, it's very like that. So helping them to make connections across words is really, really good. And I think I leave it at that. I would say if your child could use a few of those strategies before they go back to school, whenever that may be, they're going to be in a very, very good position to be able to do that. So what I would say is stay positive. All you can do is your best, and some days you just have to give them the words and that's it. But if you do have a bit of time, I would say maybe use some of those prompts. So like the first one, clap out the word, stretch the word. You might give them a little box to push in the sounds. And then the last one, using words that they might know to get to a new word. So even those 4 things would be super if they could come back to school with that. And then it gives them a bit of confidence as well. And what I would say is, I suppose we always think about spelling as either right or wrong, which it is, but I think we have to give them that space, that have a go space. Give it a go. Like, I'm not going to tell you straight away, have a go yourself. Well done, you got 3 out of the 4 letters that you need, and now let's just have a little look at it. And I know time is really short for a lot of people, and like myself, having younger children as well, running around when you're trying to do a little bit. But just try your best, and I hope that this has helped in some way for people that are concerned about spelling and all of that. That those 4 strategies might make things a little bit easier. Okay, best of luck.